3, 2, 1.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not watch or um, who don't know anything about this channel or watching this channel for the first time, the reason why it is called Uncommon Sense, because here on this platform, we discuss everyday issues where we try to find logical solutions, but not everyone uses logic. So for that reason, it is called Uncommon Sense. I also have a much smaller YouTube channel called Latina Diaspora, where I discuss issues regarding Latinos in the United States. The link to that channel is in the description. I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and the subscriber mode has been enabled for the first 5 minutes. Meaning, if you're not a subscriber and if you wish to enter a comment in the chat, you will need to have been a subscriber for at least 5 minutes. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to all those who've already subscribed to the channel. Whether you've been a supporter from the very beginning or just recently joined, I really appreciate your love and continued support. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to all those who follow me on social media, as well as those who allow me to enter into your devices and those who watch from the clouds, even the haters. So, what I'm going to ask you to do, if you have not done so, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and set the bell notifications to all. So, therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on a playback. Now, as you can see on the thumbnail, tonight's topic is going to be the myths regarding single moms. So, what I'm going to be doing is discussing what I truly believe are some myths that exist about them. Now, they are actually based on my interaction with single mothers. Okay. Now, when you hear the topic of single mothers, you have two extremes. You have one extreme that says the single mothers are the worst type of people, they're the worst type of parents, okay, and that you should avoid them like avoiding the plague. And then you have the other extreme that's talking about, well, single motherhood is something to be flexing about. So what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to tell you, about the myths, and plus I'm going to, share with you based on my own observations regarding single mothers. Okay. And then the second part will be the question is, should you date single mothers? Now, the short answer is depends. And I'm going to explain to that later on what do I mean by that. But before we get into the main topic, we're going to have two segments. The first segment is going to be in my words, and then the second segment is going to be what the heck this is. So now let's proceed. Now, lately today, there's been a great deal of chatter um, regarding Malcolm Jamal Warner's passing. For those of you who are not familiar with him, he was famous for playing Theo Huxtable in the Bill Cosby Show in the 1980s. Okay, which you have the sitcom regarding a African American family where the father is a physician and the mother is an attorney. So you're talking about a family that's at least upper middle class. Now, it is unfortunate that he passed away. And basically, it's been reported that what happened was he was visiting in Costa Rica and that he was swimming in one of the rivers. Unfortunately, there was a strong current that took him away, and he was eventually drowned. Okay, which is shocking because, first of all, because he was only uh, 54 years old when he passed away. And those of us that watched the Bill Cosby show in the 80s love how this young person, interacted with, with his parents and his siblings and things of that nature. Basically, give an example, an A's version of of a of a of a nuclear family. So, and of course, it's sad when anyone passes away prematurely. But 54 years old, in my book, that's a premature death, and it's an accidental death. So apparently, there was no foul play involved, at least that we know of. So I just want to ask that you please keep keep your thoughts and prayers um, to his family and his loved ones. It's a real tragedy, the fact that you go away on the vacation only to lose your life. That's always a sad thing. But it does focuses again the fact that tomorrow is not promised to anybody. So therefore, when with each day that we're given, we should try to make the most of it, our time, and try to be a positive influence as far as at least as far as your immediate sphere, which is basically your family, loved ones, and close friends. So our hearts and thoughts and prayers go to his family and friends, and may God, in His infinite love and mercy, um, keep the family in prayers and support. Good evening. Yes, rest in peace. Good evening, Irby. Thank you very much for stopping by. Okay. Now, the next thing um, I'm going to be talking about is basically New York politics. Okay. So, of course, this year we have an election of which we're going to elect someone to be mayor. And then in one of his fundraising events, Andrew Cuomo made a remark, which was, should Salman Rahmani become mayor, elected mayor of New York, that he's going to move to Florida. Okay. And then he said he was just joking. First of all, if you've been a resident in New York for a long time, um, we're going to come across different types of people who will be to be mayor. There have been mayors that have been great, and then there's been mayors that have been terrible. Okay. The fact that even jokingly talking about if one person becomes elected that you're going to vacate the state, um, that was done in questionable taste. Okay. And of course, here in New York, we have um, the choice who's going to be, we have the Democrat front runner, we have the Republican front runner, plus we have other third party candidates, and of course, our current mayor, Eric Adams, is running as an independent. Why is he doing it that way? I don't know. Maybe he thinks he has a greater chance to be elected mayor. Um, it's very rare that third-party candidates usually get elected. But time will tell. We'll see what happens. But whether it be an independent, whether he running as an independent person or a Democrat or a Republican, each candidate is going to have to explain themselves as far as why um, we should consider voting for them. That's a good question. Good evening, Don Armando. Thank you very much for starting. Okay, now when it comes, okay, this is the issue that I have regarding Eric Adams. Many of the politicians, let's keep it real, many of them are crooked. I mean, it's very rare that you see a politician that isn't crooked. Okay, but okay, I mean, it's very rare. But this is the issue that I have with Eric Adams. You are trying to convince me to give you my vote, but yet you don't make yourself available to answer questions. I have a problem with that. Okay, and this would be the same thing whether it be Eric Adams or whether it be Ratman Salman, whoever it is. Okay, because you're asking me to vote for you. You need to give me a rationale why. It's just logical. It's just logical. But we shall see what happens. And now we're going to have a what the heck this is moment. Now, you're probably wondering who is the what the heck moment, what the people who deserve the what the heck moment with. Okay, here in New York, we have this situation where there are mostly young people are into subway surfing. Now, for those of you who are not, who do not understand what that means, what they will do is you have young people. They'll get on top of a subway car and surf and what's called subway surfing while the subway train is traveling speeds of 30 to 40 miles per hour. First of all, it's foolish. Second of all, it's dangerous. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. Because you're standing on top of a moving subway train. And the subway train is moving, depending whether it's local or express, 30 to 40 miles per hour. Now, it's foolish and it's dangerous because of a couple of things that can happen. First of all, you can easily lose your balance and you can get knocked off the subway car. Another danger is if you fall, you may get caught, fall between the spaces of the subway cars and get crushed by the subway train. Okay. In fact, it's gotten to be such a serious issue that the MTA, which is the Metropolitan Transit Authority, is doing has a campaign of which they're trying to discourage young people from subway surfing. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes I struggle when I'm moving in the subway car, when the train is moving, while I am inside. Because at least if I'm walking, going through the subway car while the train is moving, at least there are handrails, there's railing that I can hold on to so I don't lose my balance and slip and fall. When you decide for whatever fluff reason to go outside and ride the subway car when it's going 30 to 40 miles per hour, that's not stupidity, that's insanity. You're risking your life for what? To say that you did something? Okay. And unfortunately, there's been reports of people losing their lives subway surfing. Okay. And look, let me tell you something. As a follower New Yorker, if you really care about your loved ones and you really care about the people that your friends and whatever, don't, and I repeat, don't ride on top of the subway car. If you really want to get on a scary ride, get on a roller coaster on Coney Island or any amusement park. You do not want to. Okay, no one in their right mind will want to somehow get on top of a moving subway train when it's going 30 to 40 more miles an hour, and then struggle to keep your balance. And one thing and another thing, these subway cars, they weigh tons, not pounds, tons. If you slip and fall, you can easily get crushed by the train, by the subway car. So really, do yourself and your loved ones a favor. Do not ride the subway from outside or on top. Ride it from inside. If you really want excitement, then guess what? Go to an amusement park and ride the roller coaster. Or if you really want to get scared, get enter into one of those haunted houses in those amusement park. But I mean, really, why take the chance that you can lose your life over a cheap thrill? Your life is more important than that. Okay. And with that being said, we're going to get into the main topic. Now, before I continue but begin, let me just make it perfectly clear that the link to join the panel has been pinned. Should anyone wishes to hit that link and opine regarding the topic at hand, they may do so. As always, if I never see you before, if I never heard from you before, I will insist that you come up in the backstage to make sure that no one tries to flash anything inappropriately, which will cause the people of YouTube to take down the string. Now, once I see that you're not going to try to cause any trouble or you're not going to flash anything inappropriate, then I'll let you on the panel. Now, I leave that up to you whether you wish to come up or not come up. Okay. Because there are people who prefer to do one or the other. I don't, all I ask is, first of all, be respectful with everyone that's on the chat and on the panel. Try not, and I never thought I have to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Do not try to monopolize on the conversation. Let other people have a chance to speak. Okay. So with that being said, now I'm going to get into the topic regarding single mothers. Okay. As I stated, depending who you speak to, single mothers are either demonized or glorified. So I'm just going to give you my observations and my myths. And this everything I'm going to talk about is going to be based on actual interaction with single mothers. Now I know that other content creators are live with their live streams, so so there may not be a lot of people watching. Most of the people are probably going to watch this on the playback, which is fine. And please, if you're not done so, once you hop on, consider hit like in the stream. It's not gonna cost you anything, but it does help on the algorithm. Now, Now, the first myth that I want to discuss when it comes to single mothers is the myth that all single mothers become single mothers the same way, which is not true. Okay. There are some women who become single mothers because the husband or their life partner passed away. Okay. So this is a situation where the woman didn't do anything wrong or anything like that, at least as far as not at least that we know of. But unfortunately, the father, which is the husband or the life partner, passes away, whether it be because of illness, whether it be because of tragedy or whatever. So that's one way that women become single mothers. And again, in this case, it's no fault of their own. It's just that unfortunately, the husband or the partner passes away. Now, the next reason why women become single mothers is because of abandonment. Okay, and let me clarify what I mean by that. I'm not talking about a situation where the woman nags on the husband or the father, nag and nag and nag, and then the husband and then that man decides to just to walk out. I'm talking about in a case where when the woman has done nothing wrong, but yet for reasons unknown, the man abandons the woman and children. Okay, so it does happen. So that's the second circumstances where a woman can become a single mother. The third reason a woman can become a single mother is because the woman was a victim of abuse. And when I mean abuse, I mean actual abuse, whether it be physical abuse, whether it be domestic violence, whether it be because of sexual assault, whether it be because of infidelity on the part of the partner. Okay, because not all women can deal with their partner who have been unfaithful. Okay, now it's a case by case situation. Okay, so you can't limp all cases where the relationship ended because of infidelity, because all the situations are different. But in the case of like physical abuse or sexual assault, um, the woman has to do whatever is necessary to protect herself and her children. Because in a case where the woman's being sexually assaulted, children may be exposed to it, or the children may be victims of SA. So that's another reason why there may be single mothers. Another reason that women become a single mother is that for reasons only known to her, she decides to end the relationship or the marriage because um, she thinks that she can do better, or or she finds the her partner boring or whatever, or not fulfilling whatever expectations. Now, unfortunately, we do have some women, and I repeat, some women who will end their marriages, end their relationships based on a feeling alone, nothing concrete. Okay. When I mean concrete, in other words, irreconcilable differences or infidelity or abuse or the person has a chemical dependency and is not taking any action to address it. And the final reason why um, a woman might become a single mother is that for reasons only known to her, they made poor choices as far as um, giving a man the ultimate privilege of bearing that man a child. Okay. Now, some cases, there are some women. I make perfectly clear. I said some which engage in reckless sexual activity without taking any precautions to prevent unwanted pregnancy. There are some, not all. Okay. And then some women think that if they get pregnant, then the dude is going to do the responsible thing and stay with her and take care of her and take care of the child. Unfortunately, you have the situation when you have men and women make poor choices when it comes to engaging in sexual intercourse. I knew of a situation where an individual um, had a couple of drinks too many, had an encounter with a female, and then being that his judgment was impaired, he decided to engage in sexual intercourse without taking any precautions to prevent unwanted pregnancy and became a father. So that's the first myth, which is everyone is a single mother for the same reason. Now, the second myth that I wish to address is that all single mothers have baby daddy drama. Not all, some do. Okay, there are cases where for a reason um, the the biological father cannot is not able to maintain a monogamous or romantic relationship with a woman, but yet they manage to co-parent. Okay, which is which is something that's important because don't get me wrong, there are there are single mothers that have done a great job raising their children alone. Okay, and it's not easy because basically they have to work, to bring home the income, and then after work they got to do household chores, and then after that spend devote time to their children. It is not an easy thing to do. Okay, and no, not all single mothers have baby daddy trauma. And what I mean, like for example, there's the absent father who may want to get back in the picture, and for reasons that the single mother doesn't want to go back. It could be because of infidelity. It could be because he's not being responsible. It could be for many reasons. So not all single mothers have baby daddy trauma. Another myth we got about single mothers, all of them are promiscuous. In other words, they'll sleep with whoever. That's not true. Some are, some are not. Okay. There are single mothers that after the first unwanted pregnancy realize, you know what, I made a mistake, but going forward, if I'm going to get pregnant, it will have to be within the confines of a monogamous, serious relationship, preferably marriage. However, we do have to accept the fact there are some single mothers which are basically three or fours. Okay. Again, I'm not saying all of them are this way, but I'm saying some are. Okay. Mhm. Another myth regarding single mothers is that they have these crazy, obscene expectations when it comes to who they wish to pursue in a serious relationship. Now, we see this a great deal on social media where there are certain single mothers, and I say certain single mothers, who have these outrageous expectations uh, regarding the men that they want to date. Like they have to be 6 feet tall, they have to have a six pack, and they have to have a six-figure income or a seven-figure income, or that um, they don't want to date anyone who has kids, or they don't want to, they don't want to give the man children. Okay, there are some women, single mothers, that are like that. Again, not all single mothers are like that, and this is something that we all need to bear in mind. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are just coming on, the topic for tonight is the myths regarding single moms. Okay. And the whole point is not to glamorize single moms, but not to demonize them either. My function is to give you the actual reality when it comes to single mothers. Another myth when it comes to single mothers is that all of them are irresponsible. All of them want to encourage their daughters to be single moms. While that may be true for some, it may not be true for others. And thus, for your own personal information, the Virgin Mary was a single mother. Now, true, she became a single mother because through the power of the Holy Spirit. But when Joseph was engaged to the Blessed Virgin Mary, um, she was, in essence, Joseph was marrying a single mother. Okay. So the reason why I mention it, just to put it in its proper perspective. But unfortunately, you do have some single mothers that teach their children, particularly their daughters, that they don't need a man, that they can do it all by themselves, that they can be the mommy and the daddy and all that sort of thing. And what has happened is that unfortunately, you have some single mothers that done a piss poor job raising their children. Okay. Because they didn't have a good foundation regarding what a responsible parent should be. And as a result, they made poor choices when it comes to parenting their children. And I'm just going to share one more myth when it comes to single mothers, and then I'm gonna get into the discussion when you should date a single mother. And that myth is this: you can never discipline the children. Now, I'm gonna say it's a myth, but it's not completely not a myth because if you're gonna date a single mother and it does get serious, one of the things you're gonna have to discuss is how the children gonna be disciplined. Okay. Now there are some single mothers that will not allow the stepfather to discipline their children at all. I guess partly it's because of fear, partly because of what might happen. But the reality is this: for children to be raised in a relatively healthy environment, they need um, the influence of a male parental figure and a female parental figure. Okay, and we have seen the consequences when um, the male parental figure is not present. What happens is daughters tend to repeat the same thing and they become single mothers. And then the cycle continues 2, 3, 4, 5 generations. So if you're going to date a single mother, you're really going to have a discussion regarding disciplining the children. Now, I don't mean taking a belt and whipping it. No, you're going to have to find some sort of way um, to apply discipline, but that the discipline is a corrective action. Now, there are single mothers that will not, under any circumstances, allow the stepfather um, to discipline. And of course, the children will always say, "Well, you're not my dad." Okay, and that's the reason why it's very important that when you date single mothers and it looks like it gets serious and there's a possibility of marriage or getting into a committed relationship, you two got to have a serious discussion regarding how to discipline children. Okay. Now, with that being said, now I'm going to address the question, which is, should you date a single mother? Okay. The answer is going to be it depends. And I'm going to explain to you why. Now, there are some men that under no circumstances will date a single mother, um, partly because of the baby daddy trauma, but more importantly, is because they want to create their own family. They want to create they want to have their own offspring, and it's logical. And the problem is there are some single mothers that absolutely refuse to give the stepfather any more children. So you're gonna have to have a serious discussion regarding that. Now, if you do decide to date single mothers, please bear in mind that the responsible single mothers are going to have a process of vetting you. Okay, and the reason why is the following: if they're going, if it gets to the point that it gets serious, and you're being introduced to their children, you're gonna a responsible single mother is going to be very careful. They're not going to expose you right away to these children, to our children. Now, unfortunately, some of the mistakes that women have made is to bring all these different men into their homes and things of that nature. And particularly if they decide to engage in intercourse, it could be embarrassing when you're engaging in adult activity and your child decides to walk into the room when you engage, and then you're gonna have to explain to them what mommy's doing with Billy Ray. Which brings a point regarding intimacy. You have to be very, very careful that you don't engage in intimacy in front of their children. Children don't need to see that, particularly small children, because what happens is it gets embarrassing. You have to explain why, and there's certain things children should not see. Children, particularly small children, should not see adults engaging in intercourse. Because what can happen is they see mommy doing it, so they may want to do it. Okay. Number one. Number two, if you do decide to date single mothers, you're gonna have to establish what are the expectations, the barriers, and things of that nature. Okay. It is one thing when you date a single mother and she has only one child, or two, or even three. It's another thing when she has five, six, seven, eight, and more from one baby daddy. Okay. Now, in my case, I've was married to a single mother, and she had two children. I think she had two different baby daddies who were not in the picture. I don't remember why. At this point, I really don't care because it's irrelevant. But I knew for the fact that there will be challenges, particularly when it comes to discipline. Now, generally, I do not believe in hating. I do believe in like taking away privileges and things of that nature. I also believe in having discussions and explaining why. Because I look at discipline as a corrective action. Child does something that I don't like, that I don't agree with, you take a correct action. That's how I see discipline. Discipline should be a corrective action. It's not okay. Now that was different from the day when I was a child because in my day as a kid, which was basically 6,000 years ago, my mother took a sandal or a belt or a broomstick and beat the living crap out of me. Okay. But then again, um, when I was a child, it was a different environment. We didn't have ACS, we didn't have children's services, okay, and so we couldn't use the threat of reporting our mothers and fathers to children's services for whipping us. Okay, now that was the way my parents disciplined me. I would not discipline children the same way. My form of discipline would be taking away privileges, um, timeout, uh, having a discussion as far as why. Because when you do have to explain to children why the behavior is inappropriate and why you don't want the child to continue in the bad behavior, you have to explain it. Okay. And you need to be patient because you may have to explain it more than once. That's that's the reality. You may have to explain it more than once. And sometimes it may take a couple of times before it finally dawns on the child, hey, I should not do this because this will happen. Now, if you decide to date a single mom that has like 6 kids and more than one baby daddy involved, maybe two or three or four, that tells me that that shows that she exhibits poor judgment. It's one thing to make a mistake and unwanted pregnancy and then learn how to learn and you do better. It's another thing when you do this three, two, three, 4, 5, 6 times. And recently, I can say weeks ago, there was this single mom on TikTok. Now I don't know if she was real or she was just trolling, but she was a young woman, 26 years old, single mom, had 7 kids, and then taught with a whole bunch of different baby daddies, and then talking about why she could not understand why people are making a big deal. First of all, if you have more than two baby daddies, that's crying poor judgment. Okay, it's basically what you're doing is um, all you care about is getting your carnal needs done and decided to to engage intercourse without protection. So what happens? Not only do you risk unwanted pregnancy, but you also the risk regarding STDs, and you are exposing yourself to demonic influences because when you decide to engage in intercourse with anyone that you don't know, you don't know you do not know what influences that person is under. And just to illustrate the point, I remember a couple years ago, around Christmas time, I met this lady. She was in her 40s. She seemed okay. So we had a conversation. I gave her my phone number. And then all of a sudden, when she started talking to me, she started talking about, oh, when you come to my house, we're gonna make love, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna do this, and it's like, excuse me. And then on top of that, she was telling me that she has mental issues. Now, if I was a person that did not care, that just wanted to, just wanted to gain access to the box, I could have gained access to her box immediately. I chose not to because, first of all, I got to get to know you before you even talk about it. Number one, to me, the fact that you're talking about giving the box to me right away, that was a huge red flag. And on top of that, mental issues. So who knows what type of mental damage I could be inflicting on her if I decided to engage in intercourse. And it got to the point where, unfortunately, I had to block her. Okay. For my own peace of mind. Now, some of you may not care because basically that's easy access to the box. Um, the fact of the matter is, I don't know what type of influences she's dealing with. And and I know we're living in a day and age when people don't care about things like that, or they care about smashing and things of that nature. I just could not. Even if I was not a Christian, the fact of the matter is, I would be making a horrible statement, basically treating this lady in her 40s as a sexual object. Also, if you go to date single mothers, it's going to require a certain amount of patience. Because one thing you bear in mind, her priority is going to be her children. Okay. So let's say you plan something. Let's say you plan a romantic evening, or you plan an evening of, you go to, go out and date. You go to a restaurant, and you might see a play or movie, or may go out dancing. And then Johnny comes home, and then Johnny has a fever, or Johnny gets sick. Well, you're gonna have to be understanding the fact that single mothers might have to cancel at the last minute because of a family crisis, whether because of illness or what have you. And you're gonna have to be patient, and you have to be understanding regarding that. And that could be rough if you, especially if you invested a great deal of time, energy, and money to plan an evening, and then it has to be canceled because obviously um, the single mother has to take care of her children, or maybe the babysitter cancel at the last minute. Okay, because as a responsible single mother is not going to leave her child or children unsupervised. Now, we have heard stories of there have been single mothers um, who gone away on vacation and left their children unsupervised, or they gone on a cruise and they left their children unsupervised. And sometimes um, that can lead to horrible consequences. Most responsible single mothers, if there's something that comes up, they're going to take care of that child. So that's something you have to. So that's something you have to bear in mind. So it will require a great deal of patience. It also require a great deal of understanding. Not everyone can do that. Okay. I'm just gonna get something to drink. Excuse me. And then if you are a single dad and you date a single mother, just like there's gonna have a process where she's gonna vet you carefully. You're gonna do the same thing to her because you want to make sure that if you have children of your own and she's gonna become a stepmom, make sure that she's properly vetted. And again, you are gonna have to have a serious discussion regarding um, her disciplining your children. Okay. And again, not only disciplining your children, you're going to have that discussion when it comes to finances. You're going to have a discussion regarding um, what will be the roles and things of that nature. And the last thing you want to do is get into a relationship and you don't have, which can lead to marriage, and you don't have a serious discussion because you're going to have problems. Okay. And the biggest drawback is that dating a single mother. If things do not work out, the ones that's gonna suffer the most are the children, because children may become attached to you, and if it doesn't work out, then they're the ones that have to suffer. And unfortunately, being that you're not the biological parent, there's very little that you can do. So that's the reason why when it comes to dating single mothers, this is you have to have serious discussion. You also have to have clear boundaries. What is what is permissible and not permissible. Just like you're gonna have clear boundaries when it comes to single mothers, they're gonna have clear boundaries regarding you, and they're gonna have to make it perfectly clear what they expect and what they hope for, and make sure that you don't cross the line with them. Just at the same time, you don't want them to cross the line with you. So these are some of the I mean there are other issues, but these are the main issues. So when it comes to dating single mothers, um, just be mindful what you may have to deal with. And if you know your boundaries and you know what you have to deal with, and you're still comfortable dating a single mother, then by all means do that. But you don't want to make a decision um, without carefully think about it. Oh, which reminds me of one more myth. um, single mother, all single mothers are 304s. No, some are, some aren't. But you can, you believe me, you can tell if they are 304 by the way they dress, by the way they speak, and by the way you act. Be very observant. Okay, be very observant. Because the problem is when you fall in love with someone, sometimes the logic goes out the window, and you may overlook things because you are in love. And that was the mistake that I made with my ex-life. There was a lot of things that have I been um, more alert, I would be able to see the red flags, and perhaps I would have done a better job vetting her, or maybe not marrying her. Okay, the very the least, at least we didn't have any children, so we didn't have to worry about child support or custody or what have you. So that's my take. Just bear mindful. Not all single mothers are the same, but observe everything, and anything that appears out of the ordinary, do not neglect it, and pay close attention if there are red flags, because there are red flags. These are things that you'll have to have a serious discussion with. And if she's not willing to alter her conduct or behavior, then you may have to think about parting the separate ways. Okay. Love is blind. Sometimes out of love, you do silly things. You do stupid things. Believe me, I have done some stupid things in the name of love in my close to 63 years of life. So that's what I have to say. Now the link is there. Should anyone wishes to hit the link and opine, they may do so. If no one hits the link and no one else makes any further comments, then I'll start to wrap this up. It's a reality that other content creators are live. Okay. Yeah. So as I see it, there are at least 12 content creators. So it is what it is. Being that no one is going to hit the link, I'm gonna stop to wrap this up. Now again, the whole purpose of tonight's topic was to give you the actual facts and my observations regarding single mothers. I'm not, my job is not to demonize it nor glorify it, but to give you the facts and give you some of the things that you will have to deal with. Again, not everyone can deal with a single mother. Okay, the bottom line is you need to be honest with yourself. You need to be honest with yourself. And if you know that in your heart of hearts you could not see yourself with a single mother, don't date single mothers. But when you reject someone who's a single mother, be understanding and be patient. The last thing you want to do is hurt them, is to hurt their feelings and come across as being cross. It's just that it's your preference, okay? Everyone has preferences, and that's perfectly fine. There are people who want that only date within their ethnic group. You have people that only date outside the ethnic group. You have people who only date women with big boobs and big butts, or skinny, or whatever is your preference. Now, tomorrow night, my topic is going to deal with how to deal with difficult coworkers. Believe me, when you are in the working world, you're going to deal with difficult coworkers. That's something you're going to have to deal with. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some techniques to help you to deal with difficult coworkers. Okay. Now, of course, the playback end, you know the deal. If you want to leave any comments, do so. If you disagree with anything I have stated, fine. Just state your disagreements in a respectful way. Because anyone that leaves disrespectful comments, they're going to get deleted. It is that simple. And let me just check and see. Okay. And I see here there's no one. Okay. So there's no one in the chat on Instagram. So I'm gonna close. Okay. So those who are us coming in live, coming in now. The topic for the evening was the myths regarding single mothers. So I was just sharing with you, based on my observations only, dealing with single mothers. What are the myths? What I did was in the beginning, I explained how women can become single parents, which is basically five. First way is because of death. The second way because of abandonment, because of the partner, and not because of the woman nagged the guy to death. The third is because of abuse. The fourth is because the woman decides to abandon the dude for whatever reason. And the fifth reason is because some women made poor choices and then decided to engage in sexual intercourse without taking precautions to prevent unwanted pregnancy. So those are the five main reasons. Well, actually six, if you want to include women being promiscuous. And the myths are, not all single mothers are the same. Not all single mother has baby daddy issues. Not all single mothers would not allow you to discipline their children. So I hope you find the topic interesting. You're more than welcome to share if you like. And we're going to close the same way that we always close. We must do everything possible to avoid the persons that are mentally and intellectually challenged, because if we fail to do so, we will be infected by their stupidity and massive insanity. This has been another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron, saying good night, take care, stay blessed, and peace.